Hey y'all, welcome to the Miraculous Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Trolsey, and I'm so excited you're here. Freedom in Christ is a gift that's ours for the taking, yet in so many areas of life, it's easy to feel stuck. We all need reminding of how the gospel frees us to live abundantly in every area of life. So whether you're at home or on the go, I hope you'll stick around for an uplifting conversation that will encourage you to walk in the miraculous freedom that you've been given. Thanks for tuning in. Today, for our season finale, we have Mohammed back on the podcast to wrap up the first half, or almost half, of the year. I'll be telling you a little bit more about season 2 at the end of today's episode, so be sure you stay tuned for that. So today we got an update on Mohammed's New Year's resolution. We talked about our family's word for the year and how we've grown in that. And the focus of today's episode is Mohammed's story of getting to the U.S. and how we've seen God's hand in it. Let's jump in. Hey, Mohammed, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me again.
Oh, thanks so much for being back. So I can't believe it's been almost half a year since we had you on the first episode.
Yeah, it's been a while since we started.
Yeah, and so a lot of people have already seen or listened to the first episode, but in case they haven't, I thought I would introduce you real quick. So you're my husband, and we have a little girl, Aya Francis, who's a year old. We have 2 dogs and a cat.
Yeah.
And you are a high school teacher.
I am, yes.
So we're enjoying our summer break together. You've taught environmental science, physics, computer science, and you've coached esports, which I didn't even really know what that was until before you were coaching it. But yeah, so that's a little bit about your job. And then I wanted to tell people about your hobbies too, because you have some interesting hobbies. You're a scuba diver, which you don't get to do as much anymore. You're a beekeeper, which I really benefit from. You're a gamer, and you love to cook. So that's great for me.
I love to do a little bit of everything. It's like jack of all trade, master of none situation. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I'm really excited to sit down and talk to you today about more of your story and for the listeners to get to hear just about how you got here and everything.
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation. Yeah.
It definitely is. It definitely is. So before we get into that, I've got to ask, what is giving you life right now?
So what gives me life right now is our daughter. She started walking about 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now she is just running all over the house. Like, she's fast. I did not know babies could be that fast.
I know. I've learned a lot about babies after having one. I thought I already knew a good bit just from watching my sister's babies, but it's kind of different when it's your own kid.
Yeah, because you're with them 24/7.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a full-time job. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that is really sweet.
Yeah.
And that's a great answer. She brings us both so much joy, and I'm really glad that we get to spend a lot of time as a family this summer, just the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the 6 of us if you include the animals. But.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, okay, so like I said a few minutes ago, I thought it'd be really fun to sit down and just kind of tell people how a guy from the Middle East ends up in small town Mississippi.
Yeah, that's a story. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know that we're going to get to this, but I really, when I look back at your story, I just see how God's fingerprints were on bringing both of us together and how he orchestrated all of the events when we had no idea what was going on.
Yes.
So I really hope that brings some encouragement to people listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So first of all, let's back up and you can tell us where you're from and maybe give people some, I don't know, give us a geography lesson on where that is.
Of course, yeah. So I am from Oman. It's a country in the Middle East, and a lot of people surprisingly don't know about it, which I'm like very shocked when I ask people about it and they don't know.
I didn't know about it until I came to Ole Miss, and half of the students at the IEP were Omanis. Yeah,
so it is interesting because like how Italy is the boot of Europe, Oman is kind of like the boot of the Middle East. Like whenever you look at the Middle East, it's kind of look like a boot. I mean,
like the toe of the boot.
The toe of the boot, yeah, because Yemen would be the other side of the boot. But yeah, it's in the Middle East, next to Saudi Arabia, next to UAE. If you know Dubai, probably everyone know Dubai.
Yeah, I would think so.
So it's there, like it's very distinguished place or location, if like kind of in the middle of the world. So if you decided to throw a dart in the middle of the world, probably you will land there.
Oh wow! Yeah. Huh? I haven't heard you say that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Just came up with it right now.
Oh, okay.
On the spot, yeah.
And what was the place where, I'm going to butcher it, but it's like the place that it's the earliest sunrise on the whole Middle East?
Yeah, so
Somewhere
it's
in Oman.
yes, it's not in the Middle East, it's in the Arabic world.
Okay.
Because
the
Oman
Arabic
is
world.
the farthest eastern point in the whole Arabic world, and there is a place
Okay.
called Ras Al Jins,
Yes.
and it is the very first place in the Arabic world where the sun rises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that place, even though I don't remember the name of it, always holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
Do you remember why?
Yes, the turtles, and we knew we had our baby there.
Yeah.
Like we knew you were pregnant.
Yes, yeah.
Not
So we
had the
were
baby here.
on vacation in Oman, and your sister took us there, and we saw these ginormous sea turtles, which I'd never seen them that up close and like in nature, in the wild like that.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And then that night we went back to Muscat and found out we were expecting. So yeah, that place holds very special memories for me. But for people who haven't had a chance to visit Oman, what would you say to them? Like, give us a 1 or 2 sentence explanation of Oman.
So it's a very traditional country. Like compared to the other countries in the Middle East, it doesn't race to look modernized. It looks very like historic and traditional, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very peaceful country. I mean, you don't really hear about it much because there is not big event happening there. It's pretty quiet, peaceful. It's people compare it to Switzerland of the Middle East. That's what they call it, because it's usually the one that stays out of trouble or mediate between other countries in the political side.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are really nice. Like you can go with just hang out in this. Well, like there is a lot of YouTubers. They would just go there. They don't know what to do at all. Like they go without a plan. They will meet someone in the road, and this person will just start taking them all around the place for days.
Oh,
Yeah, we
wow.
watched a couple videos of people. Yeah,
Yeah,
like people
yeah.
are very friendly there, and they would just come and help you even if you didn't ask.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that from your family, of course. But since you have such a big family and, you know, I've got so many of them to take care of me, I haven't really had to venture out by myself. So I can't attest to that, but I definitely can see how that would be true. So, of course, there's some different views on the Middle East here in the States. What would you say to people that you wish that they knew about Oman?
Well, I would say that the Middle East is a very broad language, and it's not something that the people in the Middle East call themselves. It's kind of like a Western, or to be more accurate, a British naming of the region. So the region is very, very diverse, that a country and a country are way different than one another. So you can't judge the whole region by one country or by one place. It is, yes, the most hot place in the world right now in terms of temperature and events.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant temperature.
Well, both, yeah. But it's not all the same. And even like if you go to Oman itself, every region in the country is way different than the other. Like
Yes.
there is some regions they don't even speak the well, they speak Arabic, but Arabic is not, it's not their mother tongue, basically. Yeah.
Well, even last summer, going from Muscat, which is all the way on the eastern coast, down to Salalah, which is on the southwestern side, I mean, that was totally different.
Yes.
Like Salalah was very lush and there was so much greenery and it was much more temperate. And then you have Muscat, which, I mean, you know, it's more of what you think of when you think of,
Yeah, hot and humid.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of more deserty. Even
Yeah.
though it's not the desert, I understand.
It's
but
like mountain, but you're in the valley, so
yeah.
yeah.
Very hot, very hot. Well, thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. So, tell us how you ended up in Mississippi.
All right, so it all started back in 2013, I think. Maybe,
Okay.
I don't know. Whenever I finished high school, maybe
Yeah.
2013, 2012. I think it was 2013.
Yeah.
All right, so what happened is I got a full scholarship from the Omani government to study in certain, like there is a list of countries. One of them was the United States, and you can study a certain majors that they have them named, and they have a code number for the majors. So I put petroleum engineering as my favorite choice. Like you had to list up to 40 choices, and then they go from the choice number 1 to the least one you want. So I put petroleum engineering as my favorite because, you know, petroleum, money, I did not really care about it, but I just, because it's money.
Yeah.
And then the one that I actually wanted to do was airport management, and I put it as my second. But here's the deal. You don't write the name or you pick from a list. You copy the code of the course or the major you want to study. And I accidentally copied the geological engineering and put it as my second favorite.
Instead of airport
Instead
management.
of airport management. Yes, I
Okay.
copied the wrong code. And then airport management landed number 4, I think, or something like that. But not because I mean, everyone usually gets their first or second or third choice, so you don't really care about, like, after the seventh choice, I will say people just put anything because you know you wouldn't land there.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I got a message. Actually, I was in Africa, in Tanzania, when I got the message that says, "Congratulations, you got your second favorite choice." It didn't really say your second favorite. It said the code of that. And I was like, I didn't know it was the second. I thought it was petroleum engineering first. I was like, oh, I got petroleum engineering. And then when I went and checked the system, eventually when I had internet, I found out, okay, this is my second choice, which is supposed to be airport management, but it says this weird thing called geological engineering. And I was like, what is geological engineering? I mean, I know geology, I know engineering.
I would have asked the same thing.
Yeah, you mix them together. What is even that? Yeah, like, do you fix rocks or something like that? Yeah, so I read a little bit about it on Wikipedia. I could not grasp anything. Like, I was like, I am totally lost.
Wow.
Yeah, but then I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, what do you do? Like, you say no? You can't.
I don't know. Some people would.
Yeah, I mean, but even if I said no, like, I can't, like, re-roll the dice again. I mean, you kind of can, but then if you did re-roll the dice, you lose what you already got, and there is a good chance you might not get anything.
So it was either go with this major you've never heard of and study in the U.S. or stay at home, basically.
Yeah, or like roll your dice again. You might get it again. You might get something else. Like, who knows? Yeah. So, and I actually didn't want to even go, like, I didn't want to study abroad at the beginning. When I got the scholarship, I was like, I'm just going to stay locally and go to university here. And literally the day before I went to Africa, I was, well, maybe the night or a couple nights before, we had a family gathering, and my cousins, a lot of them studied abroad, and they were talking about how fun it was and the adventure they had. And I went home. It's like, okay, I'm just going to redo. And that's why I landed it wrong. I guess I was tired or whatever. Yeah. And then I changed my choices from all, like, in the country to all abroad. And then I got, the one in United States. And then geological engineering. I mean, a lot of people, if you went to the road and asked like 10 people, maybe none of them would even know it. Yeah. And then they were like, all right, there is this university in Mississippi that teach it, and there is this other university in New Mexico that teaches it. Those are not the only universities in the US, but those were the only two universities the government had a contract with.
Right.
So I was like, well, New Mexico looked like a desert. Mississippi looked green. I'm going to Mississippi.
Wow.
Yep, that was my whole process of thought.
Man.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And I think that's so encouraging because, I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, and we'll get to like the rest of our story and everything, but it sounds like you didn't even really take a lot of time to like pray about it or think seriously about it. I mean, am I understanding it right?
Yes, that is very correct. I did not put a single thought about it. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm not saying that to be negative. I'm saying that because a lot of people these days, a lot of people are trying to do what God wants them to do. They're like, what is God's will for my life and all that? And they're trying so hard not to miss God's will. And you weren't even trying to follow God's will really in that situation. You were just like, I've got to go to college. Here we go. Roll the dice. And, you know, all of these great things happen. Like, I just want people to realize that you can like take a breath. And I'm not suggesting not to pray about big decisions like that. But I am saying that God's sovereignty works even when we make choices without even consulting him.
Yeah, it's good. God is sovereign over everything. Like his will be done.
Yeah.
So whether you want it to be done or not, it will be done, whether through you or through someone else. Mm-hmm. And people, like my friends, were praying about it and everything, and a lot of them were even stressed about it, and they were not sure what to do or how to handle the situation.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess at that point, because I'm kind of tracking back to it, everyone thought I will do something related to computers because I grew up, my dad had a computer repair shop, and we, like as a family, our family was very tech family where we had all the new tech and we knew everything about technology. So everyone assumed I would go to a computer science major and do that. So, but at that point when I was picking the majors, I did not pick any computer science related things because I was kind of burnt out.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I've done it so long and then I was burnt out and I was like, okay, I'm not going to pick it. I kind of regret it a tiny bit, but at the same time I don't, because I wouldn't be here if I picked a computer major. I probably would have been in another university because there is more options for that one. Yeah.
And you're teaching computer science now, so
Yeah,
it's like it all kind of came full circle. You just got there differently than you expected. And so I know that the sovereignty of God is something that's difficult to talk about because it's something that we can't fully explain. We can't fully explain how our free will and God's sovereignty totally like mesh together. But I just think your story is proof of that, like God leads people and puts different desires in their hearts and will take you step by step to get you where he wants you to go.
Yes.
And again, not saying not to seek him and seek his will, but I think we can take a lot of rest and there's a lot of freedom in trusting in his sovereignty.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were your first impressions of Mississippi? Because I think you pretty much explained how you got here.
Yeah.
And then once you stepped off the plane, were you like, oh boy, or oh no?
Yeah, that's a good one. So if you don't know, the winter we arrived in the United States, I think it was in 2014 in January. It was one of the coldest winter that happened in that decade, I think, since 2010 to 2020. I think it was one of the coldest. Like Chicago had that day, I believe we were at the airport. Chicago had one of the lowest temperature in its history, or something like that.
See, I was living in China at the time, so I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so the first place we landed after we got to the US was Chicago, and surprisingly, I went through custom very smoothly. They didn't even ask me anything.
Wow.
And all the other Omanis who were with me had some kind of trouble, and I have no idea why. Like you have a long beard, people will think you're a terrorist, people will think you're whatever. You should probably shave your beard or thin it out before you head to the US.
Wow, your family was telling you that?
Some members of my family.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then I was not even asked a single question.
Wow.
It was just like a smooth sail through. Yeah, I was like, yeah, sure, okay. And then the terminal got changed a bajillion time until we finally got the terminal because, the storm and all the delay and stuff. But we finally made it to Memphis because you have to land in Memphis, Tennessee to get to Mississippi because we don't have a major airport in Mississippi. Yeah, fun. So the university English program came and picked us up and we went down to Mississippi. And the housing we were in was a housing that the English program has a contract with a company, blah, blah, blah. But basically it's like 4-building, kind of isolated in the woods for international student. It's not fully isolated, but there is kind of, it's like you can think of it as it's a square. There is a building in the square and this square is surrounded by trees. Yeah. There is one entryway, which is the road. Yeah. I mean, if they cut the trees, the place will look more like you're not in the woods, but... Yeah. So
and they called it the island, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we called it because it was like all of the other buildings in the apartment complex, and then a road, and then
the other side
for the international students.
Yes. So we arrived there at maybe midnight or something like that. So you step out of the car and you just see woods around you. Yeah, I was like, wow, they dropped us. I used the word jungle back then because I didn't know the word woods.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because the first time I heard that people call a forested area woods was here in the US. Yeah.
So
it's like they dropped us in the jungle. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And that jungle was actually right behind the condo where I was going to move in. But we didn't know it at the time. Actually, I think I did know it at the time. My mom and sister had gone and looked at it for me while I was in Thailand. And then, we were kind of neighbors then, but we hadn't met quite yet.
No, yeah.
So what was your transition like, once the shock wore off of being dropped off in the jungle? What was the transition like for you as an international student?
So it was, for me, the first year was really hard. I had a big culture shock.
Oh, really?
Because I know the South is technically conservative.
Yeah.
But it's not conservative enough for me.
Goodness.
We were more conservative than the conservative South. So,
are you talking about clothing?
Well, clothing, yes, and interaction between male and female.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the Middle East in general, and again, country to country varies. Some countries are more strict, some countries are more loose. But in general, there is a bit of a barrier in terms of communication between females and males. Usually, you don't just walk to a random woman on the road and talk to her or ask her a question.
Yeah. You don't just strike up a conversation with
the opposite gender. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that's like, again, generally, but that's not the norm. I mean, it could be varies between a country to a country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was something, the way people dressed for sure. Even though it was winter and people were still dressing like, I'm like, aren't you cold? Yeah, like I had to wear whatever, like a thermal underwear kind of situation, my jeans and then a t-shirt and a jacket and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Wow.
I was cold.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. That was probably the coldest temperature you'd ever been in.
Yeah, definitely it was.
Wow.
Yeah. So it took me a minute until I adjusted and I understood that, hey, this is a whole total different culture and these things are considered to be okay in here. Even if you don't agree with it, it should not hurt your soul that much.
Yeah. So did you have American friends that helped you reach that conclusion, or how did you come to kind of accept those differences?
I think it was over time. I didn't really, like, my first year here, I did not really have American friends. Like, I knew some American people through the guest house, but we didn't really hang out regularly. Like, even when we hanged out regularly, my English was not good at a point where I can be like a regular friend with them. Because I couldn't like speak the language correctly or get into a conversation. Like, I had it enough where I can get by and do everything I need to do to survive, but not like to have a one-on-one conversation.
Right. Okay. So over time you just kind of adapted then. So you never considered moving here long term, right?
No, I was, I had a plan in high school. I actually had a plan, and I had a book. I did one of those, what do you call them?
Aptitude tests?
No. It's like when you go to someone who start hyping you up about your life.
Like a life coach?
Well, yes, but
you went to a life coach?
No. Yeah, I'm trying to explain it. No, it wasn't a life coach.
Okay.
It was one of those, like, human development thingy. I don't know what you call them. No, it's not a counselor.
I don't know what that is. Maybe we don't have that in the United States.
No, y'all have it. It has a name. It has a freaking... It's usually a scam whenever you go to them.
Huh. And it's for high school students?
No. It's for everyone. Like, adult will pay a lot of money to go talk to... Probably like something like a
life coach. That's all I can come up with. Yeah.
But this guy had a lot of training. Like, it was legit things, and it wasn't like a life coach per se. Like, he did this something called... It's something neurodevelopment, something. Basically teach you how to talk to people and get hints from their facial reaction, body language, and things like that.
Really?
Yeah, to know if they're lying, if they're telling the truth, and stuff like that.
Did Salim go too?
No, I don't think Salim went.
Okay. Yeah. Salim's his twin brother, but I was just curious because...
Yeah. So I went to that, and part of the exercise was like plan your life. So basically write a letter to yourself to receive it in 5 years.
Oh.
I was in high school, and I already decided that I finished college, I had a job, and I took over my dad's business because I was thinking about taking over my dad's business of computer shop and like do some improvement that I thought my dad didn't want to do because, like old people like to run it their own way, blah, blah, blah kind of situation. And I already have a family. I already had. So leaving the country was like not in my plan because if I left, all that will have to be on hold.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I can go to college and work at the same time.
Right. Okay.
But if I am out of the country, I can't do that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I did not plan on staying here for a long term.
Okay.
No, I was just like, I'm going to finish, leave.
Yeah.
Go home, start my plans again.
Okay.
Yeah.
You never told me that detail.
I'm surprised.
I'm very surprised. I've heard you tell this story a lot because everybody that we meet wants to know how we met. But no, I never knew that. It reminds me of a verse. It's, I think, Proverbs 16:9, that like in his heart, a man plans his course or something, but the Lord determines his steps. So it's like you had your whole course of life planned, and then I don't know, God determined your steps, and it was a little different than you had planned.
Oh, a lot different, yeah.
So when did you become open to the idea of being here long term?
So I finished my undergrad, and this is the problem because I didn't think I would be here for a long term. I never took an internship in the summer. I was just taking classes, trying to finish as fast as I can.
To get back home.
To get back home, yes. Because I was like, I'm putting my plans on hold. But I enjoyed being here. Like, I'm not saying it was miserable. The first year was hard But eventually I got over it and I realized, okay, A, B, and C, and you're fine, basically. Like, you can adapt. So I never took an internship. But then whenever I got close to graduating, I really wanted to do something. Like, I wanted to get a doctoral degree. So I was like, I need to get a master's. So I talked to one of my professor and I was like, hey, I want to start doing research because I'm interested in a master. And she was really nice and she helped me starting an undergrad research. And I had a publication as an undergrad student, which is a big deal if you don't know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember when you went to that conference and I was so excited for you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, and then she took me under her wing for my master's and she helped me a lot. I feel like very bad for her. I don't know if she would ever listen to this podcast, but I'm really sorry I gave you the hardest time in the world. Yeah, I owe you a lot.
You had a lot going on, like life changes.
I did, yeah. And
COVID, all that.
My master took 4 years, just to put you in perspective, people. I mean, 2 of them was COVID, 2 of them was me and 2 of them was COVID. But we made it, yeah. And then when I brought up the PhD to my professor, she was like, "No, don't do PhD. You can stop at masters."
Which, thank you, Dr. Gifford.
Yeah, you don't have the discipline for PhD, and which I understand. I don't. So yeah, I decided to stay for my masters, and then I think during the masters is where I was like, okay, I'm open to staying here. Yeah, but I didn't I wanted to get a job and do an internship or a job for a year or 2. And then go home. But then, I guess when we met, really, where I decided to stay. Like, I don't have to leave.
I was like, wasn't there a special someone? But yeah, so we met. I guess we can back up a little bit. We met in 2015.
Yes.
So wait, or no? I guess we technically saw each other. Was it 2015
or
2014?
We saw each other in 2014, but we officially met in 2015. Like, okay. I saw you around. I thought, oh, this is the one girl that looked like Tyler Swift who come to the guest house.
Right.
Yeah, but that was the extent of it.
Okay. Yes, yeah. I remember now. So I lived in China from 2013, like the school year, 2013 to 2014, and I stayed through that summer. And because I stayed longer than I expected, I came back to the States to do a master's in teaching. And because I didn't come back as early as I planned, I wasn't able to take the GRE when I planned, which meant I wasn't able to start the master's program when I planned in that fall. So I moved back to Mississippi, and I moved to Oxford not knowing if I was accepted even to the grad program. So that was a big step of faith. I don't know if some people would think that was foolish or not, but that's what I did. And so anyway, I started kind of going to the International Guest House in the fall of 2014. But since I wasn't a student at the time, which you don't have to be a student to be there, but I just felt kind of weird. So I wasn't as involved as I would have been later. So the first time we actually met, or the first time I remember seeing you in action, I guess, was the Valentine's event.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that would have been February 2015.
Yeah.
And the reason I remember that is because on Valentine's night, we would have different skits, all of the people would break up into different groups, and you would act out a famous love story, or you would come up with your own.
Yes.
And apparently there was a shortage of guys that night.
Yeah, there was a shortage of Prince Charming because everyone decided to do Cinderella.
Yeah, so Mohammed was Prince Charming in 3 or 4 different skits.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was really funny. And so I really thought that you were extroverted because of that. The whole time that I knew you, I thought that you were, because you were always the life of the party. In my opinion, and I don't think I would be the only one to say that. So I was really surprised to find that you were actually an introvert.
Yeah, so it's really weird. I kind of have a switch to flip and change between. So this is something I don't know if I ever told you or not. I was in theater in high school.
Yes, I did know that.
So I did a lot of acting and stuff. So I was very comfortable on a stage in front of people. So when I am acting, I'm an extrovert. Mm-hmm. But if we sat down in a party in a corner to have a conversation one-on-one, oh boy, yeah, God bless
struggle.
you. Oh yeah, no, it's no. I'm gonna struggle. That's fine. But you're the one that will be I need to leave, but I don't want to be rude to him. It might be a language barrier. No, it's not a language barrier. It's just What do you call it?
Social
Like a
skills?
social lack of social skills. Yes.
No,
Yeah.
you need to give yourself more credit. But yeah, I don't want to bore people with the details. What would you say next? We met.
Yeah, we were
winter.
friends, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, like we haven't really talked much, I guess, but
Right.
we were friends, and then we went to that camping trip with the guest house
Yeah, so that was the next summer
next summer, yeah.
of 2016.
2016, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because 2015 we went to, what did we go to?
Yeah, I don't think I
Yellowstone,
went in
maybe.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we got to hang out more in the trip because I mean you have to. You're stuck with those people in an RV for how many ever days?
Yeah.
You're gonna talk to them.
I think it was 12 days maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
And it was a cross-country road trip with like 15 people, international students and American students. And we went to the Grand Canyon. We went to see the sequoias. I mean, it was the trip of a lifetime.
Oh yeah.
Your
It was
twin brother
amazing.
was with us and some other guys from Oman. And so that was really cool for me to see just how y'all interacted. And I remember being so struck by the fact that y'all were always the ones like washing the dishes. Even though it was very cold in some places, like it snowed in some places, and you were outside washing dishes in that icy water.
Yeah.
You would always make sure that like everybody else had gotten food before y'all got your food. And yeah, so it was really cool for me to see you and kind of, I guess, observe how y'all interacted with people before we even thought about dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't think about dating until 2019.
Yeah. So it took some time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
And then the rest is history. I mean, we've been friends. We lived next to each other in the barn at the guest house. So we had a boys' side and a girls' side.
yes.
The boys' side and the girls' side was held up in place by God's grace. It wasn't structural or foundation that held it up.
It was an older structure.
It was.
And it is no longer there.
No, yeah,
But
that's the good thing they did there.
I
yeah.
loved living there. That was it was such a cool experience.
Yeah, oh no complaints. I mean, it was a great living. But structural wise, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know any of that when I lived there.
No.
So.
Yeah, we did. Like, we found out about them randomly. Like, one time, a horse kicked part of the support under your apartment, and no one knew about it until one day, one of my roommates just decided to walk back there, and I don't know what he was doing, and he saw that he was like, this is not supposed to look like this. And then he called Mr. Bell, and then, all right, yeah, we need to fix it. The bathtub was just hanging in the air by the grace of God. I think the silicone was holding it in place.
Oh
like
my
literally
goodness.
no support underneath it. Like maybe someone would be taking a bath or a shower and then all of a sudden falling through to the shop downstairs. Yeah, but it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was so fun.
it was fun.
Gosh, I don't want to paint this in a negative light, but the reason that we kind of bonded, besides game night and meals and trips and stuff, was you became like my personal exterminator.
Yeah.
So any kind of like bug that was too big for me to kill, like that tarantula-sized spider, oh my goodness, that was intense. Anytime I had mice, which became more frequent the second year I lived there, you were always just like one call away.
Yeah, we didn't have mice problem in the boys' side because we had a cat, and actually cats do work.
They
like
do.
Surprisingly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give them that. I will. And so we kind of got closer during that. And then I actually moved off of the property in 2019. I had a roommate who didn't have a car, and the guest house is probably 10-ish minutes from the university. And so it just got too complicated for her to depend on me and other people to get to and from school.
She cried when I said I'm going to leave the property, and literally the same year she moved out.
Yeah.
Same season, not even year.
Yeah. It was that spring of 2019. We were eating Mexican with two other friends, and you told us that you were planning to move, and I don't know why. Well, I kind of guess I do now, but I just like broke down in the middle of the restaurant and sobbed.
It's like, okay, I'm not moving, and then boom.
Yeah.
Coming back from the break, she is gone.
And you helped me move anytime I needed help moving. So, did you like me at that point?
I did, yes,
Okay.
but I wasn't gonna pursue you because it was like she's way out of my league.
Oh my goodness. Well, I just didn't see you that way because, okay, I'm going to let them in on a secret. You are younger than me. And so whenever we met, you were an undergrad and I was in grad school. And it was just like, you're an international student. I'm volunteering at this organization for international students. And I don't think there was a rule that like volunteers and students couldn't date, but it just, I don't know, it just never crossed my mind. So anyway, but we ended up together anyway.
We did, yeah.
Look at God.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so what have you learned about God after living outside of your home country for over 10 years now?
Yeah, so God is sovereign, and no matter where you are, if you always rely on God, you will always manage to do things and manage to get things done the right way, and God will always keep you alive and in check. It might not be the best situation, but he's always going to watch over you and save you from troubles.
Yeah,
as long as you're relying on him and like you're truly depending on him.
Would you say that you had to rely on him in a different way because you were living in a new culture?
Yeah, because back home, it's like just what we were saying about the Omani culture, how people are all like helpful and they're supportive and people like just help you get by. So sometimes it's easy there to just forget because, like someone will help you. Yeah. But when you get to a culture where a lot of people are individualistic, is that the word? Yeah. Individualistic, and people don't tend to support one another, then you might be more needing God than not being in such a culture, because here, like you're alone. Right. Basically.
Right.
Yeah. And the South is different, of course. I mean, the South has the hospitality of the South and everything. And people here in the South are way more community focused than up north or out west, whatever. But it's not the same level of like community and connection as you have in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's been something that's been really good for me to learn from you in our marriage, is that you are more like community minded and thinking about the group, or in our case, the family first, whereas with me being raised in America, I'm more individualistic. And so I've learned so much just from watching you and the other Omani guys on that trip and everything, but from you in our daily life about how to think about other people more or first, and how to kind of put the group's needs above your own at certain times.
Yeah, so like how you get mad at me whenever I give you more of the lunch food and don't have any.
Yeah, you didn't have to bring that up. Yeah, sometimes if we don't have enough food in the house at the moment, Mohammed will give me more than he gives himself, and it always upsets me.
Yeah.
I know I should be grateful, and I am, but it just upsets me. It's hard to receive that. But kind of going back to something that you said, I totally agree that getting out of your comfort zone can be a time when you do have to rely on God more. Whether it's, going to a different country or learning to live in a different culture, or, for some people who are maybe in high school or college, working at a summer camp or going to a summer camp or doing something new that's just putting you out of your element, so to speak. It really does challenge you to rely on God in new ways, and that can be really good for your relationship with God.
Yes.
So, all of our relationships with God, I feel like, go up and down, and, different seasons, you're closer to Him or not. And some of the times where I do feel like I've been the closest to Him have been when I've been overseas, like especially in China, being more on my own, where I didn't speak the language well at all. I mean, I know like this much Chinese.
You know more than that.
Okay, yeah. Maybe that much. But just being there and having to navigate and everything. And, when I was there, cell phones weren't as big of a thing as they are now. And so I would be out trying to find different places without a phone and being like, okay, Lord, like, do I turn left or right here? We didn't have GPS and stuff. So anyway, I think it can be really good to meet God and connect with Him in new ways whenever we step out in faith, step out of our comfort zones. So kind of switching gears here, have you had any negative experiences being in the South or being in the U.S. in general because of your name or because of where you're from or your appearance or anything like that?
Generally, no. I never really had a bad experience. I can't even think of one single bad experience.
Wow.
But my friends, some of them did have a bad experience. Like someone drunk will shout something racist to them or something like that. But I think the reason he didn't have those negative experiences, like at night I was either in a friend house or at home. Like I never really hanged out where drunk people would be. Yeah, per se, or something like that. So no, I don't think I ever had any negative experience.
Wow,
at all. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you said earlier that even going through the airport was a breeze.
Yeah, always was a breeze.
Yeah. Anytime I've traveled with you, it hadn't been an issue.
Yeah.
So
I had people asking me weird question, like if we're still riding camels or things like that.
Yes.
So I had some people asking me that, like in random places, but it's not like, I mean, it just because, you know, that's what the media portrayed the area as.
Yeah.
And yes, it was like that until like the 70s/80s of the last century. So being like advanced and modern is not something the Middle East is known for hundreds of years. I mean, yes, before, like during the Dark Ages or Middle Ages, whatever, the Middle East was like the hub of technology and science and everything. But then it went down and Europe picked up. So yeah, it just, I get some of those questions, or like they don't know where's the country and things like that, but nothing offensive. No.
Well, and I feel like you were very hard to offend. Like,
well, that too, yeah.
You were very gracious, and it takes a lot for you to get offended. So
yeah,
that's good that you have that attitude, I think.
It is, but that was not me when I first arrived. I was easily offended. Yeah.
How did you make that switch?
I don't know. I guess I just let my anger go or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like one day I stopped caring about other people's opinion. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Can you think of any cultural misunderstandings or even linguistic misunderstandings that have happened since you've been here?
Oh, yeah. So there is something in English, whenever someone will tell you, I would do something, like, for example, if I'm having a conversation with you and be like, well, I don't know what to do. I haven't talked to my advisor in a very long time and stuff like that. And you'll be like, you might say, if I were you, I would do something. But usually people don't say if I were you, because it's known. So I'll be like, I would email them and see what's going on. And I'll be like, oh, thank you. And then you wouldn't email them.
Right.
And in my head, well, she said she would email my advisor for me, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You said like, hey, if I was you, it's a suggestion. You go email them. It happened a lot to me with my advisor. Like she would say,
bless her heart,
I would, and then she would say she would do what as a suggestion, and then I'll be like, all right, perfect, taken care of, move on. And then it never happens. And I'm like, why did it never happen? Then I'll have to do it myself. And I'm like very confused.
So how did you figure out that that's not what that meant?
I don't remember. Someone told me. I think I mentioned it to someone, and someone told me. Maybe you did.
We talked about it when we were dating.
Yeah.
Wow.
I bet it was you.
That's amazing, because your English was so good then. Like it's basically the same level it is now.
Yeah.
That is so interesting that you misunderstood that.
Yeah. Because, sometimes you take things literally if you don't understand the paraphrase band. Or like, for example, the word silly.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can use the word silly in English however you want. It's not offensive. In Arabic, it's a very offensive word to call someone silly. And I remember the very first time I was called silly, it was by a little girl, one of my friends, little girl. She called me silly because I did something silly. And I was like, oh, this girl has zero manners. It just runs in my head.
Yeah.
And then I think I talked to her mom or her dad later about it. And then she was like, oh, I'm sorry, did that offend you? And then she explained to me, I think I talked to the mom, and then she explained to me that silly is not offensive.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, because when you translate it to Arabic, it's very offensive to call someone silly. Yeah. And it actually took me a minute to get over it. Like whenever someone called me a silly or used the word silly, I will cringe. But it took me a minute to get over it and understand, okay, it's not offensive, it's fine.
Yeah. Wow. But I bet that was hard to adjust to. Yeah. Goodness. And, we do have different misunderstandings, I guess you could say. But I think it's very good because it kind of can be a little diffuser if we're having a disagreement about something.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'll use a phrase that you've never heard, or you'll say a phrase, but it's like, yeah, you missed one word, and neither one of us can help but.
What is it? I beg to differ.
Yes. But you always say, I beg a differ.
Yeah, I beg a
And it just cracks me up every time. So I'm glad we can both laugh at ourselves, especially in those moments. But speaking about conflict and disagreements and stuff, our family's word was unity this year.
Yes.
How have you seen our family kind of grow in that word?
Well, we are more aligned with what we need to do at the house and with our daughter. Like, we are in agreement of this is what we need to do for her. This is the best way to raise her, etc. And yeah, I guess like our union is based on God. So because it's based on God, it's a very good union.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if your union is not based on God, it's not going to be a good union.
Right. It'll collapse.
It
eventually.
will, yes, because God is withholding that union up.
Yeah.
And we as a human, we don't have the strength or the will to do that.
Yeah, very true, very true. I think we've improved in communication.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
We did, yes.
Yeah. And, you know, it's not so much the language barrier. I don't really think we even have a language barrier, would you say?
No, I would
Besides
say,
the little things that, you know, the different phrases that we get wrong.
Yeah, I think it was, we got better in communication. I would say... it's mostly like what we think and what we want, and we're better at communicating it to one another. Yeah.
Can you explain that a little more?
Yeah, like for example, if you wanted to do something a certain way and I wanted to do it a different way, and if we didn't communicate, it will become a fight.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because
right.
like I would try to do it my way, you will try to do it your way, and then it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or like we do things differently, like let's say the way we do the dishes, or the way we dry the dishes, or how we
load the dishwasher.
How we load the dishwasher. Yeah, someone played Tetris.
You load it like a raccoon.
And you load it like you're playing Tetris. I'm like, I thought those pots and plates are expensive.
Well, I just like to fit everything in that we can to save water.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, anyway.
I don't have a reason why I put it like a raccoon.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that is good to talk about even little things like that, so that resentments don't build up over time.
Yes.
And then you explode.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about doing that. But yeah, I think unity, like just having that kind of at the forefront of our mind, has been really good.
Yes.
And like I said earlier, it's been good for me coming from an individualistic culture to see like, what can I do and how can I use my time to serve our family well, instead of just looking out for myself, I guess. So anything else you want to add to that?
I think that's all. I think we did a really good job covering that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess there was one other thing that I kind of wanted to bring up about that. Do you think it's more important for people who are in a cross-cultural marriage like us to pursue unity, or is it the same for every marriage, or what do you think?
I think it is more important for people from cross-cultural, because you bring your package from your culture and your home to your marriage.
Yeah.
And people do different things. Like even if you're from the same culture but different areas, you might do things differently.
Yeah.
And now you have the different cultural background and the different way people do things. So you would have to agree on something, yes.
Yeah. And every family basically has its own culture.
Yes.
So even if you're both from small towns in Mississippi or the same small town in Mississippi, you're still going to have to talk about, this is how I do things and this is how my family does things and all of that to reach an agreement. But yes, I think there might be more things that you have to talk about when you're coming from different cultures.
Definitely.
Like,
yes.
I remember when we were either dating or engaged, I can't remember, but I didn't realize that you basically didn't eat supper till the sun went down.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I wanted to go eat at like 5:30 or 6 one day in the summer, and you were like kind of hemming and hawing, and I was like, what is going on? And it's just because that's not
like
culturally done, I guess.
Yeah, and to be fair, the sun set in the Middle East way earlier than it's set here. Like sometimes here it doesn't set until 8.
Yeah, in the summer. Yeah.
So back home, like we don't eat supper, and like we don't have a fixed number. Like we don't eat supper at 6 p.m. We eat it after sunset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was just, one of those little things that you have to learn.
Yeah,
but now we eat supper at like 5 because our baby is very hungry at 5. But okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think the only thing I would want to add to the unity piece is it's not going to just happen by itself, right? I think that's something that we've learned, is that we have to be intentional. So whether that is going on a date every week or every month, or setting some time aside after your kids go to bed to not watch TV and just talk to each other for 10 minutes. Like, you have to be intentional about setting unity, and you have to almost like schedule it in. Otherwise, you're going to drift apart.
Yes.
And I've shared this illustration with you before, but there's an illustration that Christine Kane uses about drifting, basically, and she applies it to your relationship with God, but I think it's good for any relationship. And she says that whenever you go to the beach and you put all of your stuff on the sand, like your umbrella, your towel, all of that, and then you go straight out into the water from there, you're just doing whatever you want to do in the water, and then you're floating along, and all of a sudden you look up, straight ahead, and your beach towel and your umbrella are just gone. And it's because you've just kind of gone with the current or gone with the flow of things. And I think that's how people are in relationships, is like we just drift apart because there are so many daily things that need our attention.
Yes.
Like, we both have jobs, and I mean, we are off in the summer right now, but
Yeah.
normally we have jobs, we have things to take care of at home, we have a baby. And so I know other people listening can relate that you have so many daily demands that sometimes you forget to fight for your relationships and fight for your marriage and to fight for unity. And so it does have to be intentional, and you do have to pursue it.
Yes.
And that's one of the biggest things I've learned thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So one more thing about international students. What would you say to an international student who's coming to the U.S.? Like, what advice would you give them? And then on the flip side, what advice would you give to an American family or an American couple or an American in general who might want to work with international students or meet an international student?
Okay, so if you are an international student and you're going to be here for a short term, whether it's an exchange student or a 4-year student or whatever, use all the opportunity to learn and immerse in the culture. Like, go on road trips, especially like in America. Road trips is the thing here.
Yeah.
Flying is more expensive, but yeah. So go to road trip, meet people from even other countries. No, don't just like try to meet Americans because it's the cool thing to do as an international. No, meet other people, because one day you're going to want to go to Brazil and you would want to have a couch to crash on or something like that, or a friend to take you around and show you the places. Yeah. So just use every possible opportunity, immerse in the culture, do all the activities you can. Yeah. And at the same time, stay true to who you are and don't like shift and change just to fit in.
Yeah, that's really good. Not to change who you are just because you're in a new culture.
Yeah.
You do have to adapt, but you want to stay true to yourself and not go against your conscience.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
And for families, I would say, especially young people, like college students, meet those international students, become friends with them. Why? Because you're going to want to travel the world, hopefully. And again,
well, that's not the only reason
well,
why.
it's
right?
not the only reason, but that's one of the good reasons. Like, if you have friends all over the world, you would have places to go. You will have reason to leave the country and leave the continent and go places. Yeah. Also, it will open your eyes. Like, traveling open your eyes, meeting people from other countries also open your eyes.
Yeah.
And you would learn a lot. Your perspective on yourself and on other events will also change drastically, and you will learn. And if you're a family, it will be a really good experience for your kids. And for you as a family, like, to see how people from other culture function and how people from other cultures do things.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great advice. I mean, we can learn so much from other people who are different from us, and it makes life fun and exciting. And yeah, if you're in a place where you can't travel, then it's great to ask people about their home countries. I mean, I think that's an easy in. Like, people like to talk about themselves, whether you want to admit it or not. You like to talk about yourself. You like to talk about your home country and your family, most people. And so I think it's a great idea for Americans to take an interest in an international student and about their culture and country.
Yes.
Would you say there's anything that they shouldn't ask or should avoid talking about?
I mean, it depends on person to person, but I would say ask. I mean, you have to be brave. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You think there is some like political things that might offend the other person? Ask it nicely. I mean, it's good to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. And I've heard some people say, even like whenever you first make friends with somebody or you first meet somebody from another country, just say, like, I really am interested in spending time with you and I want to get to know you. And I'm not familiar with your culture. And so I'm going to upset you probably. And that is not my intention. And so when I do that, please teach me. Like, don't just stop being my friend or stop returning my calls, but use that as an opportunity to teach me more about your culture.
Yeah.
And so I think being upfront about that can help too.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good advice. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. before we wrap up, update us on your New Year's resolution.
All right, I'm glad you asked me today. So the book I decided to read first, I decided I didn't want to read. I didn't judge the book by its cover. I judged it by the introduction. And I was like, it's too slow pace for me.
Yeah.
So I picked up another book, actually 2 books. One is, it's an Arabic book, and I didn't really per se picked it up. I had it from a friend because it was like a point of a conversation. And then I'm still reading it. It's a very tiny book, like maybe 100 page or something like that. And I'm more than halfway through it. And then the other book I'm reading is called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And it's a novel written by someone, Gabriella something. I don't know. Yeah, that's how much I care about people's name, which I should.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's about game development business people who are, it's a romance novel. Yeah, romance novel. Yeah, which I actually gave it to a student as a book award in a book award event without
reading it.
Yeah, but then I was like, yeah, I probably should read it. And I'm actually not, I don't regret giving the student. Yeah. There's few things I would have probably not given the students the book if I knew about beforehand. But after that, I'm like, the student is an adult now. They can think for themselves. So those tiny things are part of life. So whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Has it been fun?
Yes, so the Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow book, I'm not actually physically reading it. I'm listening to it as an audiobook, which works way better for me than reading a book. It was like 18 hours total, and I'm 3 hours left, and I'll be done.
Because you're in the car for at least 2 hours a day during the week.
Yes.
During the school year.
So I, just picked up those 2 hours going, 2 hours back, and
Oh, well, I'm so proud of you and so glad that you've read some books. You're doing great. Okay, so the last question I want to ask, this is different from the last question that I normally ask, but since Father's Day is right around the corner, what do you want for Father's Day?
Well, I don't per se want any physical things. I want just like to spend time by myself, to play games or do my project, blah, blah, blah.
Spoken like a true introvert.
Yeah.
What about some people who are listening, maybe that are our age, some wives who are listening and want to get something for their husband? What would you say?
All right.
Besides the gift of time alone.
Besides the gift of time, yeah. If you want to bug your husband the whole time, maybe. So, we men like some unique, interesting, weird things, or at least most men. Like, for example, hot honey. You probably heard about it online or something, or some kind of a hot sauce if your husband likes spicy food.
Yeah.
Yeah. If your husband have a beard like me, or a better beard or a worse beard, whatever, beard oils or beard cream, whatever the product they make, which apparently I'm not using.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I did buy it for you, but
yeah, she did, and I never used it.
Yeah.
So yeah, those kind of product, maybe a tool to add to their tool shed. If they they go to Home Depot and they keep checking stuff on Home Depot, maybe get them a gift card. Don't get them the tool, because you might get the wrong one. Yeah, just get them a gift card and be like, hey, this is for the tool you've been eyeing this whole time.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. If they are a gamer playing video games, get them, depends. If they have an Xbox, get them an Xbox card. If they have a PS4 card. If they are a gamer on PC, give them a Steam card at STEAM. STEAM, yes.
Okay.
It's the kind of the platform that most PC gamers get their game from. Yeah.
Okay, whenever you mentioned Home Depot or whatever you said, it reminded me about how you can see what people have looked at on Amazon.
Yes.
Would you say going that route would be good? To see like what you've viewed, or do you just look at stuff just because it's fun?
Some depends, yeah. Okay. So I wouldn't,
don't trust that.
Yeah, don't trust that. But hey, this is the thing: you can always return it if it's not the right thing. And the husband will be like, "Oh no, this is what I wanted," blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, there is a reason for return. Yeah. So.
Okay, so that's dads that are about our age or in a similar age range. What about like my dad's age? What would you say?
If they love spending time with other people, maybe a date with their grandkids.
Oh, that's cute.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I know if I was a grandpa, I would want to hang out with my grandkids.
Yeah. What about a physical gift? Same thing, gift. Or?
Yeah, maybe like something unique, something weird.
See, that's the thing, is because most dads, I feel like, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but a lot of dads just kind of get whatever they want whenever they want it. Not saying they like live extravagant lifestyles, but it's hard to get something that's useful and surprising for people who just, kind of already have what they want or need.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, if you have money, you can get them a vacation with you and stuff like that.
Well, that would be nice.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be going that route in our house. But
No.
But anyway, well, thank you so much for being here and for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. I've
thank
really
you for
enjoyed
having
it.
me.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and I think our listeners will too. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the Miraculous Freedom Podcast, feel free to leave a review or share it with a friend. So I promised at the beginning of today's episode that I would tell you a little bit about our next season, which is going to be a mini-series on freedom. We're calling it the Summer of Freed From. Not the summer of freedom, but the summer of freed from, because we're going to focus on how to get freed from different issues that are plaguing us. I really can't wait for you to hear stories of how people in my life, including myself, have been miraculously freed from different strongholds, and I hope that it encourages you in your journey with Christ as well. So we'll be back with season 2 on July 1st, and until then, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you may want to look at Miraculous Freedom, or on our website, miraculousfreedom.com. I hope that you experience the miraculous freedom that Christ has offered you today, and that you go tell someone else about it.